and welcome to another edition, the first edition of 2026 of the Throwing Bagels podcast. I am Chris Douglas, and I'm joined as always by Kevin Mooney and Jason Hamo. Gentlemen, how are you?
Good. How are
Good.
you?
I'm not
First
bad.
first day of the
First,
year of the
yeah.
back to work. So,
Happy New
Oh,
Year.
terrible. We'll get
Yeah,
into
it's
that later because
awful.
it's the worst. It is the worst day of the year when you're going back to work. It's absolutely terrible. So I hope you both had a very lovely New Year's and holidays, of course. And we're looking forward to another big year with the Throwing Bagels podcast. So let's get things
Yes.
started
Let's
here.
go.
We have a wonderful guest on here today. He is the director of major projects at SUNY Oswego, and he's a fellow alum class of 2012. Welcome in, Devin Reese. Devin, how are
Hey
you?
guys. Good. Thank you. Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. Thank you. We appreciate your time, and we hope we'll have a good time tonight. So, first question, I guess we'll get started here. As someone who has played a critical role in the Hewitt Hall project, what did it mean to you to see everything come to fruition with the grand opening last semester?
I mean, it's surreal, right? So it's I tell everyone it's like taking, several million piece puzzle and you're dumping it on a table and you're fitting all the pieces together, and at the end of the day you have a masterpiece, right? That people take to look at, touch, feel, and enjoy. So seeing it all come together in full circle and seeing the building in use today, it's really a good feeling, and supporting the faculty, students, and staff.
We'll talk about this a little bit later, but you were an alum of Oswego. You came back to join Oswego professionally and as part of your career path. So you rejoined campus during phase two of the Hewitt Hall project, which at that point involved the interior of the building and wrapping up a few things on the exterior. What were some of the biggest challenges you faced during that particular stage of construction?
Yeah, so this project is sort of unlike others where we
Mhm.
had the main renovation going on. So phase two, which was the interior fit out. So the whole interior construction, the remaining exterior construction. But within that, we had a bunch of sub packages as well, right? So we had the broadcasting sets, we had the broadcasting integrated equipment package, we had the specialty lighting package, we had all the furniture, right? So as the building's coming together and the contractors finishing and coordinating all their spaces and punching them out and doing all their testing and balancing and all those fun things to get the building or the space ready. We're then going in and fitting out these spaces with all these other packages, right? So it takes a lot of coordination and a lot of effort through roughly 132,000 square feet of building to figure out, who's on first, right? And what
Yeah.
comes first and how those pieces all come together as part of the puzzle. So, end of the day, right? That was a challenge nonetheless. But quite frankly, I think we did a very good job, actually better than I originally thought we were going to, of where the building would be on day one, and then having staff in there and everyone getting acquainted with their spaces and ready to go for the first day of students.
What kind of delays did you run into, if any, during the project?
Yeah, so like any project in construction, when people tell you it's not delays, there's delays of some sort, right? There's different magnitudes of delays, right? One of the big challenges, which people don't think about, but for this project with all these other packages, was getting the elevators turned over prior to the building being turned over, a substantial completion. So we actually received the elevators and took possession of the elevators first in the building to allow the movement of all the other material up and down the building. So CTS, which is our Campus Technology Services, had to come in and do their part, right? And they had, you guys probably saw the various amounts of TVs, right? So we had to coordinate getting TVs up and throughout the building and all their equipment and then all the furniture and all those other things, right? So we took possession of the elevator and coordinating that, which means we have to coordinate all the life safety systems and fire alarm and those things that people don't really think about, but at the end of the day is a huge component of bringing a building back online is the life safety components.
Yeah.
Other than that, schedule delay wise, I think the broadcast equipment package um, ultimately took a little longer than we had thought originally, and that didn't have anything to do with the quote unquote project team. It had to do with some of the approval process with getting contracts awarded. But we waded through those waters and we made it work. And at the end of the day, we have a functioning system throughout the building, and I think very happy faculty and staff.
Were there times during the process, whether it was like when the drawings were designed and when as the construction was going that you thought about something that maybe you're going to do and then you had to change course and do something different?
Yeah, that's it's just iterative design, right? So that's nonetheless when a project starts in 2018, call it, is the original concept and design and a project coming to fruition and going through the history of people and progression and things change, things develop, right? We're in an evolving society. The industry changes, technology, as you guys know, changes rapidly, right? So there may have been something technology-wise that was originally thought about. Like I think we had a projector, and I think it was the ballroom projector that changed 3 times, right? So the original specified ballroom projector was no longer available. It got changed again. That no longer became available. And each time, ironically, it got better, right? So that was a positive, right? So yeah, there's always those things, but you get to a point where um, changes in construction, it really depends on what discipline you're touching. And sometimes you're touching just a small little thing. Sometimes one change, messes with electrical, architectural, even structural, right? And you go down this rabbit hole of you're touching various avenues of the project. But nonetheless, so you're always going to have those moments, and there's several things that came up throughout that we waded through those, and sometimes you do a positive, negative, and look at, is this worth it? Can it be a follow-up project? Does this have to be now done now, or can we do this later down the road? But you get to a point where that equilibrium doesn't pay off anymore, and you sort of stick with what you got, and you work in those confines.
Were there, I mean, so you came in during the second phase of the project, right? So were there any other stakeholders that came in, either came in later during the project or some that left during the project for whatever reason? Maybe, they left for a different job or something like
Yep.
that. Like
Yeah,
how
so
did that work for you guys?
So the original project coordinator, she saw it through design, and really sort of organized the specialty packages, but didn't really get into the design of them or whatnot. So I sort of saw through the design of the specialty packages, which was the broadcast equipment package, the specialty lighting, and the broadcast sets. Um, the furniture she went through with our interior designer who was there throughout, so that was a very, very good person to have throughout the entirety of the project. So you had a constant there. But yes, our original project coordinator, when I took it over, was December 6th of 2023.
Mm.
And I took that over because she had left for another job. So she left the university to take another job in a state system elsewhere. So that was on the campus side, the main change, right? The
Mhm.
design side, right? There was multiple people from a design lead that led the project, right? So we originally started with a gentleman. He passed it off to somebody else. That gentleman then retired. Then they brought in another gentleman. He saw it for a little bit, and then they brought in Leanne, who saw it from Canon Design, who saw it through the end. So, design side, they had 4 points throughout the project. The fund, construction fund, who was our partner in this, they had 2 or 3 project points throughout the project, right? But when you think of it, it's very seldom anymore in this industry in the world that on a project that started fruition or came to, idea in 2018 to completion in 2025, that you're going to have every single constant of a person throughout that project, right? And that's part of being able to adapt and pivot, and work with different people, and end of the day achieve the end goal.
How much did budget constraints drive the project and affect what you were able to do and not do?
So yeah, budget, like anything, right? So this project, as you guys can imagine, went through COVID, right? So like
Oh yeah.
pricing between when the project came to fruition and what costs were, and then COVID came, and that's when the project got split up into sort of phase one, phase two, because given budgets and not knowing how much the dollar would go and how far it would go. Fortunately enough, the state was able to continue with phase two, and we were able to move it forward, but budgets got tighter. Every year labor costs go up, material costs have significantly gone up since COVID. Some have come down, but in the peak construction season and when material needed to be ordered for this project, prices were high on a lot of things. And then that tailored into sort of those specialty packages, right? So ideally at some point, the university may choose to add additional specialty lighting to the areas that just wasn't able to be maybe procured now. Same with the broadcast equipment package. It's hands down by far better than what they were working with, before. But was it exactly maybe what was desired? Maybe not. But it definitely meets industry standards. It may just not have been exactly every little, I dotted, T crossed exactly how faculty would have liked. But and then the broadcast sets came out really good. No real issues with budget there.
At the time of the project closure, did you conduct some sort of a debrief? And if so, what were the biggest takeaways that you all had from the project?
Yeah, so ironically, I have a debrief this week with the design team to go through sort of what pain points it was from my perspective and the college's perspective,
Mhm.
and things that future projects that they could do better or we could have, captured differently. So I actually have a debrief here this week on that. But internally, I try to take the lessons learned and capture those and apply them throughout my department, right? So Mahar, as you guys probably know, is up next on the docket. And we'll be breaking ground here real soon. We just had the kickoff meeting right before the holidays. And so we sat down as a team of the folks working on that in our department, and I sat with them for 2 or 3 hours one day and went through all the lessons learned that I had documented from Hewitt from my time on
Mhm.
there and things that I had picked up from previous me being involved with the project. And we took that and we went through Mahar and said, okay, these are the things we got to look at. These are the things we got to get out ahead of. These are the things we got to try to harness now so that we don't repeat a mistake. And it may not have been a mistake. It may have just been something that we found that we could do it better or more
Mhm.
efficient or more effective, right? So that's a big part of it, and taking that information and continually applying it to better each project we do.
So you mentioned Mahar being the next project on campus. Is there a time frame for when you're expected to start that project?
Yeah. So we actually had the kickoff meeting on December 16th for that, with the contractor and the state construction fund. And they'll be mobilizing here in January to start
Mhm.
putting up fencing, it looks like, and we'll get going on that.
Can you
So
give
we
us
had
any insight onto as to what's going to be going on inside the building or?
Yeah, I mean it's essentially it's not going to be it's going to be a vast gut renovation similar to Hewitt, but it will be more of your typical, classroom office type spaces, more of it's just going to house the same folks that are there now. It's not going to have all the specialty equipment and pieces and parts that Hewitt does, but that's just because of the programs and the folks that live there. But it's going to vastly improve the university and that central quad to the campus.
Mhm.
so just some nicer equipment basically. And what we had heard recently that it seems like that project should not take like a really long time. That should be a somewhat quicker project.
Yeah, that's correct. 2 to 2.5 years. Yep.
It seems like a long time in a vacuum, 2.5 years, but it's really not in terms of like a whole project, right?
Yeah, no, it's yeah, it'll be about 2 years of construction, and
Mhm.
then we'll move in and occupy the building, and depending on when they break ground, right, they have a certain number of calendar days from there that'll sort of back into a critical path schedule, and that'll give us a time of when we'll take possession potentially of the building, and that will dictate what
Mhm.
semester we then take over the building and occupy, right? So, um, really exciting to see that quad starting to develop and change that campus dynamic from sort of that 60s utilitarian look to more of a modern look for the campus.
Yeah.
Do you know where the classes that are there now are moving?
Yeah, actually, I do. So they're all moved, right? So that's a huge dynamic too, is we had to take everyone that went into Hewitt. They were most of them were in Lanigan, right? And we had to surge them out of Lanigan into Hewitt over the summer, and then we started surging the people in Mahar into Lanigan. So a lot of those folks are in Lanigan now temporarily. Some are up in the campus center in the Poucher wing of the campus center, and
Mhm.
then others. Those are primarily the two most parts of where they are, and then there's some stragglers elsewhere throughout the campus. But it's always a domino of shuffling people in places and figuring out how to fit these folks in. We don't have a building dedicated just to move people to every time we do a
Yeah.
project, so it's really a lot of effort, and I give a lot of kudos to Tedra Marshall, who's on our team, to
Mhm.
sort of takes that bull by the horns and runs with it and figures out how to fit these folks in and what's needed, right? Sometimes we have to do an enabling project to fit folks in and make some changes, whether it be electrical, data, power, whatever it may be, sound, lighting. So.
So longer term is the plan to like kind of go around the quad there, so Mahar and then Lanigan and Penfield.
Yeah, it is. So right now, sort of I'll call it mini master plan, critical path plan, right? Is we did Hewitt. Tyler was before that. Tyler, I don't know if you guys know this, but we did the exterior of Tyler this
Mhm.
summer,
Yep.
phase one, and next summer we'll finish it, replacing the windows. So they recoated the whole outside this year,
Ah,
and then they're replacing all the windows and doors. So Tyler will be all done, completely. Mahar, and then after Mahar, we'll run into Lanigan and then Penfield, and that whole quad is sort of the next, we'll call it 10 years, right? And then in
mhm,
conjunction with that, we'll be doing a large mechanical upgrade to Culkin Hall, which, as you guys know, is
okay.
our
Yep.
administrative building, in
Yep.
preparation for a future renovations of the upper floors there, right? So those are some of the larger projects in the mix. And with that,
Mhm,
we were fortunate enough to receive a $30 million geothermal grant from the governor.
Cool.
And we are trying to implement a district heating loop across campus and get off of steam for heating, which would then cut down our obviously natural gas consumption and decarbonization efforts on campus, right? So Hewitt was the second project that we put geothermal in, and we heat and cool with that for the primary system. So that has 90 wells. Mahar will
mhm,
have 80 wells. They're a little deeper. They'll be 750 feet deep versus 500 feet
Mhm.
deep. So Hewitt and Shinneman, which was our first building, theirs are 500 feet deep, but now we're allowed to go deeper per DC. So uh, what the benefit of that is you can drill more efficiently in a day, and also you're
mhm.
taking up less
Mhm.
space, right? So ultimately, it's a less cost, but still a greater efficiency from a thermodynamic standpoint.
Do you ever run into an issue with the lake going that deep?
Yeah, so I mean, not necessarily the lake, but we did a test well on campus this year, just do some exploring. We were again
Mhm.
fortunate enough with NYPA to for them to want to do a test well on our campus and collect some data. And we selected a location on West Campus, so the other side of the creek, right, and over to the towards the dorm. So sort of in the quad, which is over by where University Police is, and the backside of Cayuga and Onondaga. And we were trying to do a 500-foot test well, and we got to 240 feet, and we were hitting 150 gallons per minute of water.
Wow.
So we actually had to abandon that well, and we ended up going further to the west on the other side of Onondaga and did a test well there.
Okay.
So we've done several test wells. So we've done one, two, three, four, five test wells on campus, and
Mhm.
that's the first one that we um had any issues with. But it's weird. So you could have just hit a pocket. You could have been, you know, 20 feet away either direction or whatever, and drilled and been perfectly fine.
Huh.
How do you stop that water from from flowing at that point?
Yeah, so it, it it's actually it comes up, but it's not like a geyser. It's not like it's shooting
Uh,
out of the ground. So
gotcha,
it's down. It prohibits them from continuing to drill, more or
gotcha.
Mhm.
less.
So you said within that whole quad area, right, where Hewitt Hall, Mahar, Lanigan, all everyone is there any plan to, and I don't even know if this would be your department per se, but is there any plan to update that general area where the quad is, where like I guess the skateboarders hang out. At least that's what it was when we were back in
Right.
school. Like the
Yeah, yeah.
skateboarders would hang out and play things like that. And another question is the school or SUNY system at all? Are they B Corp certified by? Do you know
Are we what? Say that again.
B Corp certified?
Beast, can you explain what that is? I've never heard of that. That's
B Corp is kind of like is a certification where companies. It's generally. I mean, I know my company just did it, where it's a you do work on sustainability and um, basically showing that that your company as a whole is trying to become more responsible, whether it's fiscal, environmental, different things like that.
okay. Yeah, not that I'm aware of, but I mean, you guys may know we have a whole sustainability um, team on our campus that does a great job in multiple avenues. Construction and building projects is one avenue, but they do all kinds of stuff. So I will bring that up to them. I just was curious about that, so I hadn't heard about it. So thank you for sharing that. Um, but back to the quad. Yes, the quad is planned to be transformed, so that like in the Mahar project, where like I call it like the sunken concrete area.
Hmm.
Hmm.
Um,
Yeah,
that
exactly.
whole area goes away, right? So that's where the geothermal field is going to be, and it's going to turn into
Oh,
a nicer landscape area that's multifaceted. Where if someone wanted to have an outside class out there, they can. They'll have some walking paths, but turning it more into a greenscape area and not
okay.
so much hardscapes and
Yeah.
concrete. So that's sort of phase one, and it'll bring us up to the east, more or less, to where the intersecting crosswalk is. And then you have all the grass in front of Penfield on the south side. And then when we do Penfield, I'm assuming that rest of that quad will get
Mhm.
renovated that way. So, Mahar, Lanigan, and Penfield, between the three projects, will tackle that quad.
Gotcha.
And I'm just curious, with the implementation of the geothermal technology, you mentioned Shinneman was first, Hewitt and Mahar on deck. Do you have any metrics, any kind of feedback on how the current systems are going as far as maybe hitting the predicted energy savings or anything like that?
Yeah, so our maintenance and operations staff really like them
Okay.
because they're not actually a lot of maintenance to be quite honest, and they're long-term durability. So they do. So as we do this, yeah, we've done a clean energy master plan that we it has a whole bunch of data in it. I mean, it's over 1,200 pages long, I believe. And they've done a bunch of calculations, right? So if we call it cluster C, which is sort of center campus. If
Mm.
we start getting all the center campus, which is all these buildings we're talking about, plus the campus center, and we get that on geothermal, that'll cut our energy or our natural gas usage um, down by 75%, more or less, on
Wow.
campus, because that's the main energy draws, right?
Yeah.
So if
Yeah.
we can tackle a phase one where we get this cluster C or center campus on geothermal, our use of energy will be cut down by 75% in the sense of natural gas.
Mm.
So that's a huge cost, huge environmental savings. Um, but yeah, I mean it's very simple if you look at what geothermal is. It's you're taking energy instead of going from 0 to 68 degrees for heating or 0 to 68 for cooling. You're going from 55 or 56 constant temperature, and you're only doing the change differential in that temperature, right? So in the wintertime, you're harnessing the heat out of the ground
Mhm.
and heating the building. In the summertime, you're harnessing that as a cooling perspective, right? And the ambient, like they're called chilled beams. I won't get too technical, but that's what we're using for cooling. And the ambient air temperature gets circulated back in and essentially houses it in the ground. And then we harness that energy and through fluid, right? So it's a series of pipes that has water and a glycol mix, and it goes to a series of heat exchangers and pumps and then into the air handlers or VAV systems or fan coil systems, whatever it is throughout the building. And that's how we dissipate the heating and cooling. And we do have steam as backup. So if we had a streak of
Mhm.
very, very cold weather where we needed to um, optimize and supplement with heat, we can use steam, but it's for backup purposes at the point. Ideally, as you start bringing these buildings online, right now they're individualized, right? So Shinneman its own dedicated system. Hewitt's its own dedicated system. Mahar will be its own dedicated system. Once we have enough critical mass where we can start piping building to building,
Mhm.
we will be able to do that, right? So we'll start looping them together in clusters and then eventually a big, hopefully four pipe distribution system on campus where we get rid of natural gas boilers and we have massive industrial size heat pumps in our central heating plant or a secondary plant on campus to help push the fluid around the university. Um, but in a nutshell, that's really what it is. It's not overly complicated. It's heat exchangers, it's pumps, and it's fluid. And then using the systems that we normally use anyways for heating and cooling. It's just the how we use that and extrapolate the energy from the ground that we have. That's a constant, at 500 feet deep in Oswego is a constant 55, 56 degrees.
So for us laymen's, the heat exchangers is what keeps the water from basically freezing, especially in an Oswego winter.
Actually the glycol. So in the
Okay.
system, it's a water glycol mix. So the glycol is what stops any water, the fluid from freezing. Yep, the heat exchanger essentially exacerbates the temperature, right, of the fluid going to the systems.
Devin, is your office on campus? Is that in Mackin, the Mackin complex?
Yeah, it
All
is
right.
a Mackin complex. Hopefully not for long here, because Mackin is another one on the docket to be Mackin, Lonis, and Moreland to potentially be taken down.
Wow,
Okay, so I
really?
was going to ask that. I've heard different stories. So that's the plan for Mackin is just to take it down?
Yep, take it down
Okay.
and restore it to essentially a green space for right
All right.
now for future use. So maybe someday there'll be another building there, but right now, green space plantings. We have a small arboretum there already on campus as part of the sustainability department. So they may expand the arboretum for now, but not never to say there'll never be another building there again in the future. But right now, that is the current plan to to get rid of the buildings, demo the buildings and then restore it to a green space.
That's kind of a bummer, man, because I have great memories from Mackin because I lived in Lomas, so
Okay.
it was like the best. That was the best. Just having those single rooms and
Yeah.
that dining hall there was also the best on campus. So hands down.
So Devin, what was your career path like, before coming to Oswego and since, and how did you you make your way back to Oswego?
Yeah. So attended. I'll give you a quick 10 second or high level 10,000 feet review of sort of how I came into construction. So my family owned a residential construction company. So my grandfather did that. My uncles worked for, and I worked for them throughout, high school and college. And um, when I was a sophomore in college, I had the opportunity to I was taking an architectural class and members of it was then called Facilities Design and Construction, which is now Major Projects, came in and gave a speech looking for some summer help. So I took the opportunity to interview for that and was lucky enough to be chosen. So I worked for the campus in that role for sophomore, junior, and senior year in the summers and then breaks and actually throughout semesters. So I worked part time. Um, After that, I graduated and decided apply to some places. And at that time, Shinneman was going on campus, the Shinneman project. The Park Hall school renovation was getting ready to kick off. Wilbur Phase One addition just was completing, and then they had site utility project going to be happening. So I applied to a national construction management company that happened to be working on campus, and I was fortunate enough to get picked up, and I actually stayed on SUNY Oswego campus for 2 years after graduation and reported there, and got to do the Park Hall renovation, which was really cool because a lot of my core classes were in Park Hall. So I got to work in the building and renovate the building that sort of like some of these folks did with Hewitt, right? They got to experience it before and then they come in now and they're like, oh man, I wish I had that. So I got to do that same thing and be part of that process for Park Hall, and working with a bunch of the faculty and my old professors. And so that was a lot of fun. From there, I went and did a project in Syracuse. I went down to Cornell and did their vet school expansion project down there. Did some airport work, worked nights for a while, doing some airport work in Rochester, Syracuse, and Buffalo. And then I was working for that same company, National Construction Company, and the work in the Syracuse area. We were supposed to do a project at Syracuse University, got put on hold because the dean for the college left. And I had just had my son and they wanted to ship me either to Texas, Iowa, or Virginia and fly home on weekends. And I didn't want to do that to my wife, and be a weekend warrior with a newborn at home. So I took a job at University of Rochester in Rochester, New York, on their hospital side. So Strong Memorial Hospital, which is, as some of you may know, is one of the largest regional trauma centers in New York, and worked there throughout COVID and it just got to the point that the drive was long. Um, and I had an opportunity to go back working for a general contractor, which was supposed to be on the East Coast more. Turned into me going out to California and Arizona a lot. And that got old quick as well. So
Yeah.
um, I stayed in contact with several people from the campus and reached out to them when I saw they had an opening. And I guess the rest is history. So I went back there, joined it, and have been fortunate enough to move up a little bit since I've been there and contribute to the university. And it's a lot of fun. I love showing up to the same place every day, especially, a university I attended and contribute to the future generations and hopefully provide students as much as they can have so that when they hit the workforce, they hit the ground running.
it sounds like you've always had this kind of interest in some like project management type of stuff and construction. Was there anything that you wanted to do differently or maybe not go down that same path?
Yeah, so I mean, my other option, and I took a couple police officer exams when I was in college,
Yeah.
and I went through with the state troopers, and then with another unit agency, failed the eye exam for the troopers, so I got put on a wait list. And then the other agency, I had to make a decision. I was 6 months into my career after post graduation, and had the opportunity to go to a police academy or stay doing what I was doing, right? And I had family that was in law enforcement, and after talking to them and sort of the way the world is and just long durability of a career, I decided to stay what I was doing. When I was in college, I actually almost switched to business because I have a business minor. I almost switched to business and HR just because I found that very interesting.
Mhm.
But end of the day, um, I think I have the skill set to what strives and to do well in construction and project management. And I tell people it's not always how much you know. You got to know a little bit about a lot of things, and half the battle is being organized. If you can organize and communicate, that's 90% of it, right? And the rest of the things will come and go, and you'll figure it out. But if you have those skill sets and those traits, you can be successful.
It sounds like you made the right decision.
Appreciate it.
Do you have your PMP certification?
I do not actually. I'm actually in the progress process of doing so. Um, it's one of those things that it's just time consuming
Yeah.
when you do it all day long and then you get home and you got home responsibility and you got kids in
Yeah.
sports and you're running around. Sometimes sitting there and cracking open a book and studying what you do every day is
Ugh.
it's monotonous. So
Yeah.
I get it. I get it. Trust me, I get it. I went through that.
went really, really strong for about 6 months at it. And then I've slowly fallen off a little bit, to be honest.
Devin, you mentioned your path, toward eventually coming back to Oswego. What led to your decision to attend Oswego in the first place as a student?
Yeah, so my dad attended Oswego for technology education. He taught for 3 years and had an opportunity. He went into the car industry and actually works for one of the corporate car companies in the country here. But so that was one. Two, economically, I'm a big person about, finances and figuring out what's the best bang for your buck and what can get you this, the farthest as you're coming out of school. And Oswego is right up there. So familiar, like I said, I grew up about half an hour west of the campus. So sort of was involved or knew about it and, was a kid going to Rudy's and then driving through the campus and seeing what's going on afterwards or driving through the city and we're, Five Points is now used to be, one of the bars there. So you saw that life, right, as you grew up in the area. And so I looked at other universities and colleges and ultimately Oswego was just the right fit, right? It was the right fit and sort of home. And I don't regret it 1 minute. So it gave me a quality education. It taught me a lot. Really gave me a foundation, right, to hit the ground running as I graduated college. Also met my wife there, so I always say that's the biggest benefit. I met my wife, so it all holistically, that was part of it. So it was the tradition, the knowing, the comfortability, as President Wosu says now, at the hometown university. To me, it was the hometown university. And some people look to get away from hometown. I stayed and came back. So
So you mentioned, you had thought about possibly majoring in like HR. What was your major while you were at Oswego? And I imagine it prepared you for working on large projects like this.
yeah, I have a Bachelor of Science in Technology Management, with concentrations in facilities planning, essentially what I do, and manufacturing, and then I have a minor in business administration.
Personally, I don't think we had those majors in college. I don't
So
remember ever hearing of
we were all
anything like that.
broadcast majors. What did we
Yeah,
know? We were all
I
in a
know.
little bubble.
The only thing technology I ever remember hearing is like the technology education, like your dad. That's
Yep.
all. That's I had some friends that majored in that. But what was like what did that entail? What was that? What were your classes like for that major?
Yeah, so it's essentially morphing technology education in a way. But I think of it more as like construction management. So all their campuses have construction management. So when I tell people I have a degree in technology, management, everyone always like, oh, computers.
IT,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah. And I'm like, no, like farthest from that. So, you're taking construction systems, you're taking energy systems, you're taking architectural systems, you're taking technical drawing, hands-on construction, business management, marketing, HR, business law, all those things, right? And it's morphing you into sort of looking at it from being in a system or in a business or working for an employer or owning your own business where you're morphing um, construction or energies or some type of thing, facilities planning and with business, right? So hand in hand, I'll be honest, like one of my least favorite classes was I took an accelerated accounting class and I was like, I'm never going to use this. I do more accounting than any other math ever. So, looking back and my wife actually, that's what she is. She's a accountant by trade and has her MBA from Oswego. And, so that's how I met her. But the whole joke was like, man, I'm never going to use this. And lo and behold, I do more accounting than any calculus, geometry, algebra, or anything like that. So
Sure.
So
Net present value. I don't need to learn that, right?
yeah, yeah.
so it entailed a lot of math, that
It
major.
did. Yeah, it did, right? So I was
Mhm.
fortunate. I came in, I took a lot of my math in high school from a college standpoint, was able to transfer that in. But yeah, you do some math and the accounting, but I really enjoyed the business classes. I had a really good foundation in understanding the construction side just because of the things I was exposed to as growing up and as a kid and as part of my family's business that they're part of, and so it worked really well and morphed together and has organically grown to being where I am today.
I still have nightmares of taking accounting as a business minor when I was in school there. Jeez.
Well, Devin, we just have a couple more questions for you
No problem.
before we let you go. Uh, the one question I wanted to ask you is, do you ever sit and watch HGTV and like these construction shows and just you think to yourself, like, what the hell are they thinking with this project? You ever do that?
Yeah, I mean, I sit there and look and go, "Yep, that's for TV." A lot of times, right? And my wife will always like, "Oh, look at this! Look what they did." I'm like, "Yeah, okay." Like, yeah, yeah, anything for TV, right? So for the lay audience, it's great and it sells a lot of things. But end of the day, sometimes I sit there and scratch my head, just like, there's no way they did that in that amount of time.
Exactly. They built a house in half an hour.
Right, right. You gotta. There's time for curing of materials, time for acclimating materials, right? There's all kinds of things that go into construction that these shows don't always
Hmm.
lead you on to believe.
Right. Well, Devin, we do ask this question to all of our alum or current students that we talk to from Oswego. Is there, back in the day or even now, maybe a food item that you really enjoyed? Like the three of us were really big into the chicken patty sandwich on campus. What was your favorite food on campus and off campus for that matter?
Ooh, well, off campus, I mean, it's got to be a cheeseburger sub from the
I
sub.
mean, of course.
I mean, you can't go wrong there. I think that's my favorite off campus.
Yes.
On campus. To your point, the chicken patties are pretty good. Um, but I'm a good sucker when they make once in a while and they make the apple fritters. That when I was there, they made the apple fritter donuts, and
Mm.
and those were good. So the donuts. I mean, not I'm a huge sweets guy, but once in a while, a good donut. That's another good sell.
Apple fritter donut. I don't
I don't think
remember
we
us
yeah, we
having
didn't have
that.
those.
I don't think so. Yeah, we were very basic, plain donuts, sugar, maybe some glaze, but that's about it back in the
Yeah.
day. Well, Devin, we really appreciate your time. It was very informative, by the way. It was a really, really informative show. We appreciate your time. We hope to have you back on again sometime in the future after some of the other projects.
Well, I appreciate it, guys. Thank you very much, and I wish you a successful 2026.
And that was Devin Reese, the director of major projects at SUNY Oswego and fellow alum, graduate of 2012. Wow, how informative was that, man? That was really good.
That was good. That was really good. No, a lot of information, some of which I didn't understand at first until he started explaining it a little more, but it was very informative.
Yeah,
No, I like the inside baseball, if you will, about project management in general
sure.
and how Hewitt was a beast and to really wrangle and the geothermal stuff. It really is. It's a really cool development of late where you're just basically pulling from the ground. The ground
Yeah.
is the
Yeah,
source,
Yep.
and
it's pretty cool.
I mean, there actually, I think there's not to get too into the weeds, but there's air based and there's ground based, and so the ground based geothermal is more stable. So,
Oh, I didn't know there was an air-based
yeah,
one. That's
the
interesting.
air based isn't as reliable, at least
Sure.
from when I was researching this stuff for our house. We were looking
Yeah.
at possibly geothermal, but it's a little out of the budget
Yeah,
right
it's
now.
I
it's
bet.
definitely it's expensive up front, that's for
Yeah,
sure. I'm
and
curious though, is did you have anyone come over and just kind of give you an idea of like where they can kind of dig in a
we
well around your house?
we haven't gotten there yet, but
Okay.
I think that might be something for later, like when the weather warms up.
Right. Well,
We'll
I'm just
probably
curious
look
because
into
I
When the
it.
8 feet of snow disappears.
Yeah,
well, right,
right.
that too, but like I'm just wondering if you need a lot of space for that, or if it's something you can just kind of fit into a like a 20 by 20 foot yard or something like that.
I
You
I
know?
mean, you probably could because we don't have that much. We're not our backyard. It's not that big,
Yeah,
and from some of the places we were looking at, it sounded like it would have been feasible
that's
to do
interesting.
the ground based geothermal. But it's great that Oswego's going taking that path because,
Yeah.
like Devin mentioned, it's going to save a lot. I mean,
Oh my
yes,
God,
up
yeah.
front, and there's also credits from the state. I mean, the
Sure.
state offers incentives to do it, and then you don't have to spend as much on maintenance on the back end. So it's like everybody wins with that.
No, that's true. The maintenance part is really cool because, I mean, if you think about it, like if your furnace breaks down or if, your steam pipe for whatever reason starts
Yeah.
leaking or something like that, like you have to find the source, right? And, you're breaking walls apart and you're digging and all that stuff, like the geothermal stuff, like it's like unbreakable.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I just went through the whole new furnace thing. So,
Ugh.
I had to get a whole new furnace. Yeah.
More
That was,
efficient, I'm sure, than your last one.
oh,
Yeah.
the one I had before was like 30 something years old. I don't
Oh,
even know how it was
wow.
still, yeah. It was literally emitting carbon monoxide into
Oh.
my house. And
Wow.
the only reason why I found this out was
Yikes.
because my washing machine, the water coming out of my washing machine into the sink overflowed and went on, onto the floor, and it started going towards the system. So I shut it off, and I called an HVAC person to come check it out for me just to make sure that there was nothing wrong with it from the water. I didn't think it wasn't that high. It didn't get I don't think didn't get too high, but I just wanted to make sure.
Mm.
And the guy starts testing, and next thing he knows, he's like, "Yeah, it's emitting carbon monoxide," and it was like he says the amount that it emits that would set off like a detector is like 30 on like on the the thing that they use to measure it, and he tested my vent and it was like 1 or 2, right, which is still more than I
Yeah,
even want, right.
Yeah.
sure.
And then he opened up he opened up the duct right by the furnace and he puts it inside and it just like went up to like 10. And he's like he basically was like, I got to shut this down and
Yeah. Wow.
literally like tag it and be like, and he's like,
Mhm.
the guy says to me, his words were, listen, you're an adult, you can do whatever you want once I leave, but
Yeah.
I by law have to do this. And I'm like, well, there's no way I'm turning this back on.
Right.
Like I have a
Yeah.
family here. Like there's no way. Like technically it wouldn't kill us, right? But
But
yeah,
still, I
I'm
mean,
not taking that. I'm not taking that chance.
It would
So
slow your children's growth,
right,
rather.
exactly. I don't need that. Trust me, it's already. Um,
I mean,
so yeah, so now I went from like, God, I don't even know what like percentage like efficiency that old thing was. Now only is it half the size,
Yeah.
but it's like now it's like 96% efficient or something like
Hmm.
that. But
wow.
not only that, I found out that it was installed wrong. Like it was facing the wrong way.
Oh,
The
jeez.
damn people who lived here before me put a deck on top of the actual vent for the
No.
yeah. And I didn't know that. How was I supposed to know that? No
Your
one.
home inspector should have
No, the
caught that.
inspector didn't notice that because it didn't. He didn't see the. He didn't. You couldn't see it. You couldn't see it underneath the deck. So how? And they don't do anything. They don't. If it's not visible to them,
Oh, I know. I
they
get
don't.
that. Yeah, yeah.
So he didn't see that. So yeah. So they had to then cut it, and do a whole new push that one out. So that was fun.
Wow.
But that was just same part of the cost, but still
Sure.
just pain in the ass.
That is. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, so we record this on a Monday. Okay. And this is the first day back to work for most people in the United States of America, probably around the world. And usually the first day of the new year when people are back to work is the worst ever.
It's
Oh, yeah.
brutal.
Trying to get
It's
up
the worst.
Waking up at 6 o'clock in the morning. Not fun.
No, like, because you've been on vacation for like 2 weeks, like
Right.
most people. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like,
Sleep until 10 o'clock.
oh yeah, it's sleeping, just vegging on the couch, Al Bundy style,
Yeah.
like,
Yeah. And now it's like 2 months of staring at dry, like not dry, but staring at gray, crunchy snow and ice. And,
Oh yeah, the worst.
it's
Yeah,
all
that's the other thing.
nasty.
Ugh.
And
I know.
After this
not
past
fun.
weekend, you guys aren't going to defrost until June.
June at least.
at
You
least
kidding me? You got 2 feet of snow here during the break.
Man, I was trying to explain to some people today how much snow you guys got, and they're like, "Oh my god!" And like one of the people, two of the people I know, they went to Syracuse, and they were like, "Oh man, I don't miss that."
Look, my in-laws in Fulton got absolutely
just-
drilled, like
I
3,
can
4
imagine.
feet.
That's
you know,
insane.
Crazy.
In a
Yeah.
week. Like, come on.
That's
And that's the
nuts.
thing, like, because
Look, if we get that in a winter down here,
the funny thing is the 2 feet that it snowed here, a couple weeks ago or whenever it was, that was overnight. That was like a 24-hour period.
Hmm.
So it's like it's the second snowiest 24-hour period in Syracuse
yeah,
ever.
I saw that.
Ever. That's crazy.
Insane.
Yeah.
It's only December, or it was only December.
It was only
This is
December.
gonna be some winter, guys. Buckle
It's-
up.
Well, listen, the Farmer's Almanac, it said it's going to be a brutal winter, and they're right so far.
Bingo.
Yeah, they're not
Yeah,
usually
nailed
they're not very usually right, so I don't trust them that much. But yeah,
Wow, they nailed it this year.
this year so far, so far they're on it, right?
Jackasses. Anyways, what do they know?
Yeah, they're
Well-
a bunch of farmers from like the 1800s.
Yeah, exactly. What do they
Yeah.
know? What do they know? Well, that's our first episode of the Throwing Bagels podcast for 2026. You can find us on all the socials,
That's right.
whether it's the X, the Twitter, whatever you want to call it, Threads, IG, all that stuff. You can also email us at throwingbagelspodcast.gmail.com.
It's amazing we all don't know our
visit
email
our
address.
website at
Yes.
throwingbagels.com. How is it we can't get that right? I don't understand.
It's amazing all three of us do not know the email address properly.
Oh, it's a riot. Anyways, hope you all had a happy new year. And thanks again to Devin Reese for hanging out with us and giving us some insight as to what's going on at SUNY Oswego project wise. So long.
Bye bye.
Farewell.